as if we need more reason for our costs to be more expensive on everything. We hear the words of some of our leadership saying, oh, well, we're going to have a soft landing, or we're not going to be in a true recession. I believe for most people, common sense tells us that we have felt some pretty heavy pressures of a recession. Now, as if we needed a little bit more bad news to make our goods go up as we get closer to the holiday seasons of this year. There's some new data out that shows that the price of petroleum, fuels, gases, diesels will skyrocket by year end. Well, today we're going to talk about the reasons we see that and the proof of it. But sadly, until we start doing more things independently, quit getting so involved in this new agenda that we're importing all our fuels and trying to save the world, we're going to see that it's not going to help, because we're all of a sudden not wanting to pump fuel. Other people are. The demand has not went down just because we choose to have to buy instead of pumping ourselves. So that's just one reason that it's skyrocketing, of course. But let's jump into this video. I think we're going to see higher prices when it comes to our gas and diesel as it comes to year end. What does that affect most of all, though? Everything that you're purchasing, because everything that you're purchasing needs gas and fuel to get it to you. That's going to make for a very expensive year end. Let's jump into it today. This video is going to be a good one. It starts right now. Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Thank you so much for being here today. It is a beautiful day here in South Mississippi. Boy, we need some rain. I don't know about y'all, but it's been a very dry August so far here in South Mississippi. We already have grass down. It reminds you of fall because we're starting to see leaves fall, but they shouldn't be falling right now. I think it's just one of those situations where we just need some rain. But that's okay. Hopefully we'll get it this next week. And so far, the farm is still doing okay. So let's jump into today's video. We're going to talk about some of the diesel and gas shortages and the spikes of expense that's going to affect you in everyday life. But before we do, if you're new to the channel, go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell, let us know what you think about this content. Also, give us a thumbs up. It does help us stay on the YouTube algorithm. Remember, for all the ones who are subscribed to the channel and comment below saying that we're subscribed to us and the Max Life, our vlogging channel. If you're subscribed to both of those, just a few days from now, we're going to be doing a giveaway. We're going to be giving away some freeze-dried foods, also a little water filter that we're going to be able to send to you. So we have two gifts that we're going to be sending to you. All it takes for you to enter is subscribe to both channels and let us know that you're subscribed. Also want to throw out one more thing. If you want to follow us a little bit more detail, we have a newsletter. We get very in-depth about a lot of this and get very personal. So check us out in the Substack below. Also, I have a Twitter handle. I'll put it right here. But go follow us on Twitter. Go follow us on the newsletter. That way you're getting just about everything that you can get from the Max. Our goal is to always give you as much information as we can. Let's jump into it. All right, a few things. Let's talk first gas and petroleum in general, just crude oil. And also the fact that here we are trying to keep Russia's oil from going across the world. So we tried to sanction and censor and kind of affect them based on the Russian-Ukraine war. Well, studies show that India is buying 11 times more fuel from Russia right now. A lot more crude oil is going on the market. Now, because our production is down, and because all these countries are saying, well, we don't want to pump it because we want a greener earth, it's allowing us to rely more on the Middle East, and we're going to jump into that in just a second. But what we've done is we've now made a market where Russian oil, even though we try to sanction it, and because we're not pumping it, it's making Russian oil look even better. It is a dirtier fuel. However, they're selling it at a discount because a lot of countries are buying it. And this is also helping establish a lot of the BRICS nations and also this move away from the West, because we're not being the big players in it and we're saying we want to sanction this oil. Russia is selling oil to everyone across the world. And because they may not have the environmental regulations that we have, you're having more dirty oil actually hit the market than our clean oil. So I go back and say this is why we need to be pumping fuel and being able to sell it to these markets, because I think it would give us not only more money, more independence, it would keep the price down and also put a cleaner oil on the market and not some of the dirty oils. I think actually by us pumping it, it would actually help our sanctions work against the Russia-Ukraine war and all that situation with conflict over there. There was a story that came out that Saudi and OPEC plus OPEC is cutting production, which makes our fuel go up in price. Now, the bad thing is that's a supply and demand issue. Less supply, more demand. America is not pumping as much energy and oil as possible, so we're going to see higher prices. Now, how does that affect us? Well, India is not buying as much as they were from Saudi Arabia and OPEC because all of a sudden they have this new relationship with Russia. But guess who is stepping in and having great relationships with Saudi because ours is strained, and all of a sudden the Saudis are selling huge amounts of fuel to China. So now we have these countries such as Russia, India, and China, which is the staple of BRICS. Here we are trying to keep our currency afloat, and we're doing more to actually harm our own currency than help it. Through us doing these sanctions and us having these kind of bullying reputation to that part of the world, and now not pumping our own fuel, we are devaluing our currency, helping them build up a whole nother financial environment, and we're having to pay top dollar for fuels to people that don't even like us. So it's making our gas prices go up, our dollar not go as far, and then we're gonna see shortages of that petroleum, or the cost will keep on going up. Zero Hedge had an article that said China's imports of Saudi oil set to soar despite production cuts. So that means the production is going down, the supply is going down, but the demand is not going down. So with all these people wanting to move to cleaner energy, that's a farce. That is the West trying to move to that. The rest of the world realizes, hey, while gas and oil is being able to be purchased, we're going to buy it, especially Russian oil, we're going to be able to buy it a little bit cheaper. We're going to build better relationships with the Saudis because their whole financial institution is based on oil, and the West is pushing against that. So therefore, they're able to take advantage of the benefits, whereas we're going to take the heavier cost and incur really a fact of less dependence because we're going to buy it from people who don't even like us, so they're not going to give it to us at a good economic price. You're going to see the BRICS countries and all that part of the world get better deals on the fuel. China is set to import 40% more fuel from Saudi Arabia. India is consuming 11 times more crude oil from Russia. So you see those relationships building. We already talked about Russia and China having a lot more military drills, having a lot more involvement. So we're allowing them to build all this new infrastructure, all this new environment for financial growth on that part of the world with America not even in it. Isn't it amazing that America is supposed to be the superpower, and the fact that we're just sitting on the sidelines with their arms crossed trying to set policy for people who could care less? But what is that going to do? How does that go back to our gas prices? Well, if crude costs more, the supply's down, and they don't like us, that means it's going to be harder for us to get, or it's going to cost us more to get. I imagine you have felt it at the pump. And if you look at the barrel costs of oil, it's went up. And it's going to be, I think, in the 70s and 80s, and it's looking like it's going to go higher by year end because of some of these situations. If all of a sudden we see $90 to $100 or more per barrel, then you're going to feel that all throughout the end of the year. Well, what happens at the end of the year? We travel more, we have to buy a lot of things because of holidays, and we spend time maneuvering around the country, flying, driving, and just being more active. Well, if we're more active and our kids are in schools and we're having to take them everywhere and we're having to go here, go there, then you will feel it more than ever when it comes to your fuel. Isn't it amazing? Every time we get closer to elections, all this stuff starts coming up and ramping up. And the truth is, we have to realize we have not stockpiled fuel like we're supposed to. We're paying more for it, and we're less independent than we were last time we came around for elections. Come on, people, think about that. Think about that. Don't worry about the green initiative and all this junk they're telling you about the climate. Remember, you have to pay for these things to happen. I don't think anybody in America can just go and spend $50,000 to $100,000 on this new automobile that's on the grid, and that grid is all of a sudden going to be strong enough to power everyone's car. So therefore, we are going to be dependent on fuel. Well, if we're not pumping it ourselves, we're going to keep on paying more, which is going to make the supply be worth more. So you're going to see the shortages still happen, the cost of it still high, and we're on the butt end of this situation because we don't have the relationships like we once had. Now moving on to diesel. There's a story that came out that said U.S. diesel prices surge, anticipating a soft landing. Well, because the economy is so-called doing better, I don't think anybody actually sees that in their paychecks and what they're buying at the grocery store and so forth. However, they're saying because of that, more people are going to need more fuel by year end. Well, we just talked about that. More people travel during the fall and winter times of the year because of holidays, because of buying and purchasing, and that's when retail tends to go up for the whole year. So more maneuvering of goods too. Diesel prices are going to surge because there's a depleted inventory of diesel. Therefore, we don't have a lot of diesel stockpile. So you're going to see the price go up again because the demand is there, the supply is not. So you're going to see the price go up. Remember, all the trucks, all the trains, all the things that's carrying your goods is not using unleaded gas. It's using different kind of oils and fuels such as diesel. So therefore, if the cost of freight and trucking goes up, how does that affect you? That means your food will cost more. That means your goods will cost more. And that means your Christmas or your holidays will cost more. Second reason, not only depleted inventories, the refineries are at max capacity. Do you know, America, we have not invested anything in infrastructure when it comes to refining oils, to taking care of our fuel stockpile. It's amazing how we can be energy independent, and we could take care of the globe and be better for the environment, and also be a city on the hill, be able to set better policies across the world if we would just pump the oil and invest in the refineries. Quit acting like cows are killing the world, quit acting like fossil fuels are killing the world, and realize that all this junk that we're doing, this agendas that we're pushing, is actually making us more impoverished as a nation. So if we see our diesel prices going up because the supply is low, and we cannot even refine it because we don't have enough refineries, we're at max capacity. Zero Hedge has an article that says U.S. refineries are running at 93.8% their maximum. So meaning we have to buy more across the seas. We don't have time to build other refineries. Remember, it takes time. So if we invest in that infrastructure, we actually won't see that benefit for years. So if we're going at max capacity, we have depleted inventory, that means your costs will go up. It is simple economics, supply and demand. And as we talked, OPEC Plus supply plunges by 1.2 million barrels per day. 1.2 million barrels per day will not be on the market. Why? Because they want to manipulate the price. Well, if they don't have a good relationship with America, do you think that our leadership can go and say, hey, we need you to pump more oil? We're not pumping it because we want to feel better and sleep better at night, because we don't want these fossil fuels over our heads, but we want to buy it from you. That makes no sense, people. Think about that. If you are voting for these policies that says, okay, we don't need to pump fuel, then you can't support the politicians that still go and beg and plead at the OPEC Plus and Saudi's feet to get the oil still brought in, because it's stupid. That is a very bad policy when we can just pump it here. So diesel gas is already in shortage. It's already going to cost you more. And then all of a sudden, Saudi Arabia comes in and says, we're going to cut it by 1.2 million barrels per day. That is a lot of barrels of oil not hitting the market to be able to be sold and to be refined and to be able to be utilized across the world. So wrapping up, most of the people with common sense, just when they say, oh, we're not in a recession, you're making a lot more money than you ever have. Everybody knows that's a farce and that's a joke, because you feel it in your pocketbooks and people don't have as much money as they did. They're spending more money on debts. We know that. Common sense approach with oil and gas the same way. If there is a lower supply, lower inventory, higher demand, or the demand that we already had, say the demand didn't go up. Well, if we cut the supply, it makes the demand go up because you've changed the numbers. If we were used to getting X amount of supply and then all of a sudden it's cut by 1 million barrels, that means the demand will still go up no matter what, because the supply was cut. Again, simple economics. Well, if you get everything by gas, what you do when you drive around town, if all the trucking and freight is brought to you and shipping goods to you is all by diesel, we're not going to talk about the fact of like UPS and their negotiation to make skyrocketed amounts because of labor unions. All that stuff will cost you more. So when we think about Christmas, when we think about the holidays and traveling, make sure you're preparing for that now. Make sure you're stockpiling cash as much as you can. Make sure you're tying up loose ends and not having piles of debt, because I think you're going to see higher prices on everything by year end, because fuel is going up, skyrocketing, shortages are here. And I think if we don't see that for what it is and we put our head proverbial in the sand, I think we're going to realize that we don't have a leg to stand on. We can't keep begging at OPEC's feet. We can't keep worrying about what Saudi Arabia is doing or Russia is doing with their oil, because we don't have a say anymore, because we've lost our power across the world, because we've lost our independence, we've lost our strength, and we look weak. This is not a good look for America. America needs to be pumping fuel again to make the price for you go down, to make your checkbook look better, to make your wallet feel better, and to make your goods cost less. Let's push our leadership, now quote unquote leadership, I use that term very lightly. Let's push them to do what's best for America. Not for themselves, not for some globalist agenda, but for America. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know again what you think about this video. Please, again, follow us on Twitter, the Colby Mac. I'll leave my URL right there for Twitter. Check us out. I'm usually reposting things that are very important. Also, check us out on our Substack. We're writing 3 to 4 Substacks or newsletters a week. You'll be able to get those, so check that out below. Remember to subscribe to both channels. Our goal is to give you as much information as possible so you can make wise decisions and we can grow as a community of sustainability, prepping, homesteading, and living a life ultimately pleasing to Christ. Guys, thank you so much for watching. God bless. Happy homesteading, y'all.